Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Coach Richardson here with another episode of Becoming Uncommon. And I have a good friend, someone I met quite some time ago, and has taught me a lot, and I got to watch his journey. And so I know his story is something that is very unique and is going to resonate with a lot of us in terms of trying to pursue our goals and making sure we capture our dreams and making sure we enjoy the ride along the way. None other than Sean Furey. Sean, would you mind kind of introducing yourself, a little bit about your background and who you are?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Awesome to be here. I guess my story started in Massachusetts, so that's where I'm from. I'm from the East Coast, and my original passion, was football player. I was a quarterback. I loved to, throw the deep ball, and worked my way into track and found javelin. When I was a junior, we throw javelin out here in high school. So kind of was a started off as a small high schooler. I was like 5'6" and 99 pounds when I was in high school, so pretty small. But I grew into my body and my technique. So by the time I was a senior, I was 6'2" or so, and we had some pretty good success. So I was able to throw the javelin pretty far as a high schooler. Went on to throw at Dartmouth. And it really javelin kind of chooses you. So
Yeah.
probably from the time I started or from college to now, not much has changed, just a little bit of the structure. So I was an engineering student and just was trying to throw javelin as far as I can. And then I graduated from college after being two-time All-American at Dartmouth. I then worked for an engineering company and pursued javelin. So I really knew that I could throw far and I wanted to make an Olympic team and have a long and successful career. And was able to throw for I think, yeah, like 14 years, 15 years after college, and improved 10 meters after I graduated from college. So by today's standards, particularly, I wasn't, all that great in college. Only threw just under 74 meters, but was able to put almost 10 meters on my PR after college, and a lot of that was due to finding great coaches and having like a sustainable lifestyle. So working part-time as an engineer allowed me to keep a balanced life and afford to continue to train. And had we met, Chris and I, we met in California, and that's where I was working with Todd Reich. So it was awesome to be able to work with Todd. He was an Olympian himself in 1996, and then the kind of the rest is history. I had some slow improvements, ended up throwing 83 meters, and made two Olympic teams and two World Championship teams. So, and had a blast traveling all over the place and meeting people while I did it. And then now I'm kind of doing the same thing. I still work for an engineering company. I coach javelin throwers, still throw a little bit myself so I don't hurt myself demonstrating. And I have two kids, and my wife Maddie, who she was a triple jumper, long jumper, multi at Dartmouth, and we live in Rhode Island.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
hopefully that wasn't too long.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, because it really kind of like was a blast. Like, because
Yeah.
I kind of watched that. And for me, I always thought about this, like, what made you move out to the West Coast? Because like that's a big cultural shift change, and that's kind of like a leap of faith at the same time. And like, what kind of kicked that off?
Oh yeah, I love telling the story because it kind of shows. I don't know, maybe you make your own luck, or just how many things have to fall in place. But
Mhm.
being a true engineer and kind of nerd, when I was at work, when I first graduated from college, I was living in my mom's basement in Methuen, Massachusetts. And every day at work, I would be making a matrix, a decision matrix. Like, what do you need to throw far? You need teammates, you need warm weather, you need a coach, you need facilities, you need money to buy food and medical and all of these things. And then I was like, where are the situations that I can go? What can I do? So having all these locations and people I could train with. And then I was at Club USATF Club Nationals at Mount Sac. So I competed for Greater Boston Track Club, was out there, and I see this guy with like 10 javelins over his shoulder, and he has like a spear with a feather and the Olympic rings on his calf. And I was a javelin nerd as well. I knew everybody. I'm like, I know that like Todd Reich was a Native American and set all kinds of records in Montana and was a javelin Olympian. And so I was like, I walked up to him like, "Are you Todd Reich?" And we started a conversation. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Todd." And we talked. And he's like, I'm starting a track club with VS Track Club. So you might have been associated with that
Yeah,
at
yep.
some point as
I
well.
was
He's
there
like,
that first year.
"Yeah, I'm going to be with VS Track Club. You should come train." So I'm like, "That's top on my list now." So I go back. Raytheon, the company I'm working for, has a facility in San Diego. Um, and then it all fell into place. So I transferred, was living in Carlsbad, west of the five. For those that live in California, living west of the five is pretty cool, in a crappy little apartment, but training with Todd. And then, like, the rest was history. So, yeah, there were so many things that kind of lined up for me to do that. But I was really seeking, that kind of a situation.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
had no idea that you like the yeah, that how like you said, kind of like luck. Like you
Yeah.
going to that meet and then running into Todd. Like how
Right.
long after college? It was like only 2 years after college?
Well, it was 8 months. I
Oh, 8 months.
graduated in December of 2005, and this
Okay.
was July of 2006. So it was seven
Okay.
months. And then I met Todd in July, and then in August, I was living in San Diego. So it happened like that. Yeah.
Dang. So when you were in high school, did you play all 4 years of football?
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I played football for my first 2 years at Dartmouth as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then what led you to just kind of focusing on or kind of shifting your energy to track?
Uh, yeah, so I loved football. It was my first
Yeah.
passion. That was the first thing I was really obsessed about. I think I might
Okay.
have had the book, the Joe Montana's Art and Magic of Quarterbacking. That was the first thing I really went deep trying to be really good. And Javelin kind of chose me. My sophomore year, I or my the track season of my sophomore year. So after my second year of football, I sprained my UCL throwing, and then wasn't going to be ready for football that junior year, and then it was kind of going that way anyway. As a quarterback in college, it's hard to not be in spring football. So like my confidence, my understanding of the offense, and all that stuff really didn't. I wasn't at the level needed to be a successful college quarterback. So the writing was kind of on the wall. And after the elbow injury and I wasn't going to be able to play, I just, decided to rehab and focus on javelin.
So you put more emphasis on your elbow.
Yeah, yes, right. Yeah.
Oh man. Dude, do you remember, since you're a javelin nerd, and your javelin nerdism
Yeah.
is like I thought I was a javelin nerd, then I remember, I don't know if you remember this, you and I at Chula Vista, we talked about javelin for maybe an hour and a half straight. You were talking about the corkscrew because I think you just had got back from Finland or something and training with some people out there. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you were just yeah, it was a full masterclass of some of your insights on javelin. So, but with that being said, do you remember the first time you've ever thrown javelin? Like your first exposure?
I don't, so I like maybe I was destined for javelin because it wasn't a javelin. It was probably a broomstick or a broken hockey stick, but we would always chuck stuff. So I remember
Okay.
throwing like a broomstick over my house. I could throw a 9 iron really far, and like a broken hockey stick I would throw. So I do remember I do remember my sophomore year, probably like the first practice. I don't vividly remember the first throw,
hmm
but I remember like always throwing sticks and spears. So like I don't know if you remember those Nerf turbo footballs that were half
Oh
black,
yeah.
half red. That was
Yeah.
like the first thing. We would be at recess just like bombing it back and forth. And then yeah, it was throwing things far was like always my always in a daily activity of me.
Okay, okay. So yeah, it was like one of those things. It was you're looking for something, and then somebody told you that you can legitimately throw this and have a career out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's cool. So being you're obviously did good in school, so choosing Dartmouth is really, really prestigious academic institution. Coming out of high school, what kind of led to that decision to choose to go to Dartmouth?
Yeah, so I wasn't really focused on college when I was in high school. I always, knew that I needed to do my best in everything that I did. So working hard, trying to get good grades, trying to be good at sports, but didn't really have huge collegiate aspirations. Knew
Mm.
I wanted to go to college, but didn't have a list of, oh, these are my dream schools. Uh, and I had an awesome coach. So probably the most influential coach I had was my football coach, who was also the track coach and my javelin coach. His name was Larry Clemis. But he kind of instilled the values in us of what it meant to be a good all-around student, athlete, gentleman, scholar, he would say. So I think I was putting in the work to give myself good options. And then really when I was a junior, I got some letters from people, and then maybe some suggestions from my coaches of good places, but I wasn't actively pursuing different schools. And then choosing to go to Dartmouth, it was like, I guess, based on Coach Wallen and maybe my gut feeling and intuition. I visited a lot of great schools, a lot of awesome track programs. I was fairly decent. I think I was the Massachusetts state champion as a junior until like 196, so was pretty good, but not all the D1 schools in the world recruiting me. So I was probably looking at mid-level D1 schools. And Coach Wallen, who was Adam Nelson, the Olympic champion shot putters coach,
Yeah.
he's a legendary throws coach. He was the first man to throw over 60 feet in New England back in the 60s. So really he's just like a Viking. Now he's 85 years old up in New Hampshire, runs Thor's Stone Track Club, and has an army of throwers still. He doesn't coach at Dartmouth. He coached there for 40 years. But yeah, that's the kind of guy he was, and he just resonated with me. I just knew, wow, this is this. I love this coach, and I love the team. It's kind of up there in the woods. Not everybody would like it, but I liked being remote, and I like the team. I like the facilities, the location, and that was kind of what I based my decision on, just like
Mm.
that gut feeling, how I felt like I really fit in there, and it turned
Yeah.
out being great because I met my wife, Maddie. Maddie,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
good.
That's awesome. Because like, yeah, that's a big thing now, right? Is you probably work with like young aspiring student athletes. You're kind of seeing like there's probably more pressure and more emphasis being put on, going to school, getting a scholarship, being a student athlete.
Yeah.
What have you seen, I guess, is like maybe your role or kind of some of your, opinion on that whole process now compared to, your journey?
Yeah, right. And especially now with the NIL, where like
Yeah.
things are changing, and there's a lot that's maybe out of your control, and maybe the shape of where, who belongs at different school, or who like is even what these schools are offering is totally different. So the landscape is changing, especially in the last couple years. But I try to instill, I guess, what my coach instilled in me, and that's just work really hard, and the right options will present themselves to you, that you'll find the right school. I think nowadays you may have to be more proactive than when we were young,
Mm.
in finding that. But I tried to just instill that, putting in the hard work, being a great student, a great community leader, and a great teammate, and doing your best on the athletic field is really what's going to set you up. And then making the right decision, it's not always going to be the school that you think it is, and to
Mm.
trust your instincts, and think about the whole package, how you feel when you're there, and what you see yourself, and if you see that team, bringing you to that level.
Yeah, because I'm assuming you're getting some of your athletes are kind of asking your advice on kind of how to maybe look into that or kind of take those steps, right?
Right, right, yes.
Yeah. Um, have you ever thought about coaching at the college level or like in a formal sense, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm missing out by not doing that. I just, with like the work-life balance that the way that we've kind of set up our life, it's just
Hmm.
not, I don't really see a path to doing that in the near term.
Yeah.
With my wife, with what she does, she works part-time, uh and so I'm kind of supporting, or the primary
Yeah.
income provider of the house, and I would be kind of starting at the bottom. So that's
Yeah.
one thing is like financially, I think I'm getting too late of a start to be able to support my family now in that way. And then it's just so hard. I have such respect for college coaches where the amount of time that you're away from your family. I envy the amount of time that you're with your athletes because I would love to, I there's so much that I went through that I love to answer questions
Yeah.
and help people through different problems that I either firsthand experienced or saw someone experience. So I do envy the amount of time that you're with them, but being away from my family that amount of time is also something that at this point it'd have to be a major structure change, and it's just I don't think that I could switch to that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just such I have such respect for people that long term do that because it is a sacrifice that you
Hmm.
have to make.
Yeah. But if because what is like you would call like a Javelin cheat code right now? Because I kind of want to, spin off on that a little bit just
Yeah,
because like because I'm looking at your facility behind you. If I
yeah,
remember correctly, didn't you just design that or build it? Like what like you right? Like
yeah. It's pretty
put
cool.
that whole thing together.
Yes. So this facility started with me and Craig Kinsley. So he, was my teammate on the 2012
Mhm.
team. He lives right down the road, who was the coach at Brown. We chopped down a tree with an axe. So that's kind of like that was standing right here. So that's like how this began. That's the aura. We kind of and then I designed this with like a 3D modeling software to know, we have like a 13-foot net, high ceilings. This is a gymnastics floor. We have like place for Olympic weightlifting, stall bars. So we can, and we got a little like pulley machine. So I thought of everything that I would want to be able to do, and then the size is limited based on like the setbacks. So like the zoning laws of how big I
Yeah.
could make this. And then, the structure, I didn't build this by hand. It was, a contractor, put this together, but I finished it. I kind of put a lot of these touches on there. But yeah, I wanted to have a facility that we could get almost everything done of what a javelin thrower needs. And that ties right into the cheat code or a cheat code. And I think like I uh, I have a mixed relationship with social media, where I'm obviously very active on social media and probably get a lot of exposure, and a lot of people find out about me through social media. But I think the battle, across the board with social media is a lot of times you're there and you're thinking about something that you didn't want to be thinking about. So it's telling you the algorithm is telling you what to think about. And a lot of the cheat codes, these are things that are labeled cheat code. It's, these are just things to get your attention, and it maybe isn't in your best interest to be thinking about that right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, what's the hack to do this?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, the hack is that there is no hack. So
Hmm.
that's what I think. And there, I heard a presentation from Kari Inhalane. He's like the Finnish national coach, a legend. And he was like, there's no shortcuts to the top. And that's what this facility kind of shows. It's being well-rounded, gymnastics, flexibility, strength, throwing power, technique, weight room strength, sprinting ability, jumping ability, all of those things come into play. And the more well-rounded you are, that's where you can find it. And
Mm.
it's tied to like fitness enables your technique. So you can think your way into a hole, right? But when you have the fitness, and that fitness I mean not just like cardio, but the well-rounded fitness, the ability to jump, run, sprint, lift, be athletic. Technique becomes easy because I truly believe your body wants to throw javelin the right way. So when
Mhm.
you have the confidence to hold positions and the hip stability, the core stability to hit those positions with poise and relaxation, the throws just happen. But it takes a while. There's no shortcuts to developing that level of fitness to be able to do the technique.
Yeah. That's and how hard is that conversation when a parent brings you like their 13-year-old is like, hey, make them good today, like
Right. Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. It's an investment. So I do my best in all of my sessions to make them very well rounded and kind of instill that and give people things to take home.
mm,
Like we spend a lot of time explaining the whys of the different things that we do in warm-ups and cool downs and how we're doing these medicine ball throws, hoping that if somebody's really into it and they really love it, they'll be able to say, wow, I like all this. I kind of understand the philosophy and I can take all this stuff home and just and do it and kind of help that progression. Uh, yeah, but it's hard because that's what people want is a quick fix.
Yeah, right. Just
So I
yeah,
can give
I'm
you
gonna
a quick
send
way
you
to
a video.
understand the slow fix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you get video, right? Like people send you video. What's wrong here? Like,
You're
right?
right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
just
and it's a double-edged sword because a lot of times a lot of the issues are very common. So it's and sometimes you can tell somebody something they didn't know. So it's like,
oh,
"Oh, I didn't know that this was supposed to happen or that was supposed to be in that position." And that's half the battle. Now the next half of the battle is how can I without overthinking it actually do that? And that's where like the fitness comes in. Yeah.
yeah. So on your journey, where were some, do you remember any like epiphanies or like aha moments you had like in the event of Javelin that kind of like helped kind of maybe take you to that next tier, that next notch, or get that next little incremental, kind of boost?
Yeah, I do. I probably remember a couple of them. So I
Okay.
remember like when I was a senior in high school, just I wanted to throw 200 feet so bad. And I was like 199, 199 like
No.
and then what made me throw 200, I ended up throwing like 227, so 69 meters when I was a senior, was the penultimate. I ran through the throw. It was like one throw where you like I just didn't slow down on my last crossover. In high school, I was like basic. I didn't know. I called it crossovers. I didn't know what a penultimate was. I didn't know what a block was. But I realized if I just keep crossing over and don't slow down, then the throw just happens harder and better. So that's like I learned how to penultimate into the throw. So that took me from like 200 to 220. So that was like one big thing. And then I was stuck there for a long time. So having a strong arm and having that, I was really stuck 220. And then I only threw 243 when I was a senior in college. So and I probably got a lot stronger. So I really didn't improve much in my, technique. But then the next bump to go from like 240 to 260, like 74 meters to 80 meters, that's when I learned how to use my hips and block. And that's when, it took a lot of fitness. So Todd helped me really turn the corner and become like a very fit, like very strong in my stomach, better jumps, better throws, more well-rounded, stronger in the weight room. But it took some special stomach exercises for me to overcome and understand the ability to get my hips into the throw. So really having like low ab strength so that I could put my hips in front, put my hips out there and set the block up instead of diving with my chest. So when I learned to get my hips out into the throw, boom, like that's where, the 80 meters came from. So those are probably like the two big things. One, learning not to slow down, and then two, learning how to hit a big bow position with your hips in front. Yeah.
Mm. Because like I heard this a lot when I was like, training and doing things is like, oh, javelin, it's inevitable to get hurt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you accept that, I guess, philosophy, or where do you stand on that?
No, I don't. I think they say like in Finland they would say like elbow injuries are baby for babies. So I guess it's how quickly can you become like young throwers, like young babies, not like a wham baby.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think the faster you can learn technique and learn where the power comes from and what the sequence is, uh, then you can avoid those kind of injuries. But a lot of times people get so strong and so powerful before they learn how to throw with their body that they're
Mm.
putting too much stress. And that's not like a death sentence, but if you now add on top of that not managing volume and intensity, then that's where the injuries happen. So, you can have somebody with a cannon and really strong in the weight room and bad technique, but you really have to like manage volume and
Yeah.
not, I think my old strength coach, Jamie Myers from the Olympic Training Center, was like, you can't meet the Russian too many times,
Yeah.
right? So, like from Rocky Four,
Yeah.
meeting the
Yeah.
Russian, those punches in the head, like you can't take too many punches in the elbow before
Yeah.
it starts to become a problem.
Mm.
So, you know, yeah, that's basically it. I don't think that it's inevitable. I think that you're not going to get hurt. It's just uh, you have to be smart and patient. So if you don't want to wait and listen to your body and take the natural progression, then the risk is higher.
Yeah. Well, like when you're coming up, like who was your javelin idol? Like who's somebody that you're like you had a shrine of?
Oh yeah, I just was looking at like my old favorites bar.
Okay.
So I was always, that's part of the reason why I put stuff, try to put stuff out on social media. And sometimes when I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm like, you know
Mhm.
what? Because there's might be a handful of people, maybe one person that's like looking at this and is going to help them. But
Yeah.
I was all over everybody's stuff. So when I was, in college, I was looking at like Steve Backley and Jan Zalesny videos. That's like the first thing I had, maybe had like a still picture of Jan Zalesny when I was in high school. No videos.
Mhm.
And then in college, I had a couple like montage videos, maybe of the 96 Olympics. And then after college, Mike Hazel, he was really putting his
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
out there. He had like a hazel.mac website where he was putting all his stuff. Andreas Thorkildsen had a website.
Yeah.
Tero Pikkamaki had a website, so I could see what they were doing. There's this awesome guy from Estonia, Risto Matas. So he had a website. So these were some of the people that I was just not only looking at their videos, but I want to see what their training program looked like.
Yeah.
What do they do day to day? How far could they standing long jump? How far they could they do this, do that? So I was always like, you know, uh, stalking people to see
Yeah.
what they could do. And then finding articles. I would just read everything. I would be like Googling, finding articles to read. So yeah, maybe the most prominent high level guy was on Thorkelson. He was putting a lot
Okay.
of stuff out there, and I kind
Okay.
of identified with his like style
Yeah.
of throwing.
Yeah, I remember there was a Javelin like because when YouTube was very young, right? There wasn't a lot out there. There was the Javelin compilation videos, like the
Yeah.
ultimate
Oh yeah.
Javelin
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
And I remember that's the first time I saw Taro like launch himself. Like that's the first time I really saw somebody just like get
Yeah.
airborne throwing javelin. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are good
Oh,
times.
and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Javelin discussion forum. Did you ever see that? Use that
No.
website? So, oh yeah, so Javelin Discussion Forum was a website. Actually, Javelin Discussion Forum too, but it was kind of like a Facebook group or something. But it's just a website, and I was on there 5 times a day. It was be people posting articles like Tom Puxis, Gorski, Petronov, all the top U.S. people were answering questions, and there was links to videos and pictures and test results. It was great. So that was like
Wow.
uh, a huge resource for me when I was, after college coming up. Yeah.
Wow. So, with this podcast, like one thing I love to do is just obviously get to catch up with people that I know and haven't caught up with in a long time. But also, I think it's a great representation of, identifying people's journeys and like sometimes journeys don't always go the way we want them to go, but we get to where, moments of greatness and being able to achieve success despite,
Yeah.
the bumps in the road and however the road might twist and turn. But along your rise to becoming an Olympian, was there ever a moment where you were like about to maybe give up or quit or just like just walk away from it? Like, was there any moment of doubt or indecision, whether it was like an inkling or anything?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so that yeah, I was just obsessed, and I knew that I could do it. And at first it was just a belief.
Mhm.
I was when I was in high school. I was like, I'm going to throw 260 when I'm a freshman, and I was like, I'm going to throw 300 in college. So I
Yeah.
just had big goals and really thought I could do it. And then as I went on after college, I would start to see some test results. Like, okay, that's representative of somebody that could throw 85 meters. And I started to do test marks in isolation and then see the test marks that maybe I couldn't that weren't up to that level. So I knew that I was getting some data. It's kind of hard to stay motivated maybe when it's just in your brain, but I was starting to have glimpses of, oh,
Okay.
okay, I'm getting closer. Now I'm seeing something tangible that tells me I think I could do it. So I think I always had a strong belief. For sure, I was at track meets. I remember specifically being at a track meet in 2010 in Korea, and I flew all the way across the world and threw maybe 73 meters when, I had thrown already 80 meters at the time, and was just woke up in bed, in the middle of the night. It's like, what am I doing? I just spent, how many hours on a plane, and I'm going and I'm throwing like crap. I'm like, am I ever going to be able to do this? So there were times where you doubt yourself, but
Hmm.
really that's just you're fatigued. I started to learn that I didn't need to listen to myself all the time. To listen to your thoughts. When you're fatigued, fatigue makes cowards of us all. So sometimes you
Okay.
that's when the negative thoughts start to creep in. So on my fourth week of training, right before an off week, when I started feeling sorry for myself, it's like, all right, you just need to rest a little bit. Go to In-N-Out or Jack in the Box and get like a million hamburgers, and then rest for a couple days, and you'll be right back there. So
Okay.
I did have doubt, but I knew that it was because I was like tired, and I could come back to it once I rested.
Hmm. So it seems like, yeah, with that, like, kind of that internal drive, like, what do you credit that to? Like, what is like, because it seems obviously um, motivated, determined, but like, where do you think that drive comes from for you? Like, where do you think that got instilled?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was it probably that back to Larry Clemis. I said my most influential football coach. Just the stories he would tell us. Like he was so great with his analogies and his stories of former great players that would really just inspire the entire team, and just commitment, hard work, dedication, believing in yourself, and knowing that that success can be yours with enough hard work. Kind of just made it a thing. And I had a lot of people telling me that they believed in me. Like, so Coach Clemis, he that's what started my whole career is when I was a tiny little freshman, 5'6", 99 pounds, and every quarterback on the team got hurt. And because I was a receiver, I was really awful. And they're like, can anyone play quarterback? And I was like, I can. And just because everyone else got hurt. And then I was awful. But then the varsity coach, Coach Clemens, came down. He's like, I see something in that guy. And then the freshman coach told me, and that's like all I needed for the rest of my life. So he saw something in me. And then all of a sudden, I became the hardest worker, and I was like stepping up to be captain, kind of putting myself out there. So him believing in me. And then, Coach Wallen also telling me that, I was a late blooming Irishman and that he know that I was going to throw my farthest when I was, over 30. So knowing that other people saw that, that helped me to know that it wasn't just me. So I had, those two particularly. And then, along with, a very supportive family, my mother, I didn't have, I guess it was all my journey. I didn't have the pressure of a parent wanting it for me. My mom, she knew how to hold the video camera, and she knew how to like, she was so selfless, and drove me to practice and fed me food and raised me and took care of me just in a human way. But I didn't have somebody wanting it more than I did. So it could be all mine. So that support structure. And then my wife, Maddie, supporting it as well. So I think I had a lot of things that just made it easy
Yeah,
for me to have those kind of thoughts or
that's
that kind of
exciting.
determination.
So, like, what, as we kind of wrap up, because I definitely appreciate kind of hearing your story, your background. A couple things I wanted to kind of pull away as well is what motivated you to start making content? Because I am one of those that when you make it, I'm checking it out just because, like,
Nice. I
I,
appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's really that. I feel a responsibility like that. I never did it for a selfish reason because I couldn't be on social media when I was competing because I'd be thinking about stuff I didn't want to be thinking about, especially like
Mhm.
Cyrus Hostetler. When I was competing, he'd be putting stuff out there, and he was great. Now that I know him more, he's one of my best friends, and he's like the smartest guy in the world. But I would look at his stuff and I'd start getting jealous or like thinking about what he's doing or what his marks are, and it happened across the board. It's like, what, I can't I don't want to put stuff out there. I can't use that energy, and I don't want to be, that taking away from how selfish I thought I had to be to really keep improving. So I didn't really put a lot of stuff out there, and now I have all of this information, and I love organizing it. So creating content makes me organize my thoughts and help me relearn some things that I forgot, maybe improve some things. So it's helping me make my system and my understanding better to help athletes better. And it's giving stuff away out there for the me's of the world, people that like, can't pay to come to a session, but they can read a blog or look at a reel, and maybe they can pick it up. So I think I'm
Yeah.
trying to, it helps me, so it's not totally selfless. Making content helps me sharpen my sword and organize stuff. But then it's also, kind of thinking of who are the people that were like me, just eating that stuff up, and it's helping them on their journey.
Yeah. And that's where I'm noticing, at least the people I've met recently that in the track and field world, most more specifically, that started making content. Are you finding that some of your more popular pieces of content or like things that you didn't think would be as like popular or be as trendy?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting to think, and I try not to think too much about that. But
Okay.
it's yeah, I try not to like let that guide too much and like create this because it gets more likes.
Mhm.
I love it when it's a hit, when I think, wow, I really like this, and then I like this is what I am trying to put together, and then everybody liked it. But a lot of times I put a lot of work in, and I'm like, I love this. This is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And then no one looks at it. So,
Yeah.
but there's some that like one recent thing I did, I was like, I'm creating all these Javelin programs, and I have this,
Mm.
Javelin built program. And it's like, I really want to organize. I want to have core strength is so important, but a lot of times it's just a buzzword. Like I want to have a system. I have a pretty good system, but I want to like really organize this for me and for this program. And I put some stuff together, and that was pretty well received. So those are the things that are really rewarding.
Yeah.
Uh, but most of the things that are super popular are really just like old videos of throwing, and it's like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
I know what people would like, and I try to stay away from, just trying to get a million likes.
Yeah. Are you going to compete anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm trying to. So I competed in 3 meets last year, and
Okay.
I actually I have to watch how much I train because I get I kind of battle this like compression, spinal compression. So with too
Mhm.
much desk work and too much training, then things stop working, and I get some like compression that makes me feel like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
So I have to like balance the amount that I train and throw with the rest of my life. But still love throwing, and I want to throw in a meet in April. And we'll see how that works out. Right now, I feel pretty good. Last year, I felt awesome around this time, and then totally flew too close to the sun and turned into a jellyfish by like June. So then, like the season last year really wasn't representative of what I thought I could do.
Mm.
My dream, my real dream is, Tom Petronov's 40 to 45-year-old record is 76.90. So
Okay.
that's like lightning striking, in terms of what I would need to do that. But I do want to throw over 70 again, and I think that's
Okay.
like attainable if I can, balance.
Okay.
It's just hard, discipline. It teaches me so much. Throwing as a master makes me like understand all of the discipline. When I was the best years of my career, I had to be so disciplined to like technically improve and then handle the amount of training. And it's just a level of discipline that because it's not my first priority,
Hmm.
a kid's game or playing with the kids or, doing something at work or coaching is always going to take first priority, that it's hard to get in the right kind of shape.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's cool because I'm gonna do a little bit of masters this year. I think
Nice.
yeah, it's a good way to kind of stay in shape. It's funny because I spend all this time sometimes like in the gym and on the track, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Like, so I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
start
yeah.
getting more and more. But yeah, the demonstrating thing you did bring up, like, I gotta stay in shape to be able to dim because I've noticed
Yeah.
I don't some things I just don't even demonstrate anymore because I know how bad it would be. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, demonstrations are starting to slip away. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Anything going to bring you on the West Coast in the next year or so? Get a
Yeah,
chance?
I'm actually going out to the Olympic Training Center on March 11th to
Okay.
go work with some of the decathletes with Chris Mack. So I'm very excited for that.
Oh,
I'll be down at the OTC in Chula Vista in
awesome.
2 weeks. So
Awesome.
just a quick trip, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with Chris Mack for a while, so that'll be cool. I get to see some stud athletes down there.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. All right. So what's on the horizon for Fury Athletics? Like what do you got like in the next, few years, or what are you kind of forecasting besides throwing 76 meters?
Yeah. So we have this program. My athlete Julia Campazzato and I create or launch through Train Heroic this program or this app where you can get training, right? So I'm loving creating it so much. It's amazing. We have about like 50 users so far, and you get everything from warm up to cool down 7 days a week, and it's periodized. So right now we're getting into the early competition phase. So it's hard to give somebody a canned plan, right? So that's what's really fun to learn with something that is not custom. How can you make it easy to customize, and how can you teach people and make it easy for them? I just saw something, I think it might have been from Stu McMillan, like not only doing the right thing. So I know I can get people doing the right things, but how can you get them doing the right things right? So I just want to we're trying to continue to make that better, add more value, and then helping with coaches education. So I think I'm going to be involved with USTFCCA in the coming year to help with some of the javelin coaching.
Okay.
I think participating with Michelle Curcio, maybe co-teaching a javelin course. So that's going to be very exciting as well. But
Awesome.
yeah, I'm just really focused on improving what I know, simplifying it so that I can share it and kind of sending it out there so I can get feedback and making it better. And hopefully athletes are throwing far also along the way
Yeah.
in staying healthy.
No, definitely, definitely. I mean, again, I appreciate what you do just because one, it helps me kind of keep up with you and kind of see what things are going on with you. But, um, because like I said, I'm a track and field nerd and you put me to shame, like
I don't know
the
about
level
that.
that
Yeah.
you get to. But no, it's been fun being able to catch up with you. Last, before we take off, any words of encouragement you want to give? Like, again, any student athletes, anybody pursuing the sport, or especially because like you're coming from a unique background of being an engineer, being a professional, and like in the sciences or kind of understanding like that kind of STEM route. Any just general piece of advice you'd give, or just off
Yeah,
the top?
I would say I love my favorite person to talk to is the post collegiate person wanting to embark on
Okay.
this post collegiate journey to be the best in the world. So that's who I love. But I think this advice would even work for for a high school athlete or anyone really, and that's just like setting your life up to achieve to achieve your goals. So when you have a goal, really try to make that goal vivid, and then really set yourself up to make that goal easy with your habits, with what you do every day, who you hang around with, and what you're doing. So it's really just setting your life up for to make long-term habit changes because it's not going to be overnight, but you're going to be surprised how fast that snowball can grow. Yeah, so when you have a goal, you really get that vivid picture, write it down in as many details as you can, and then just how can you set your life up? What are the small changes? How can you just structure it so that happens, and then it becomes really fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And with that being said, make sure you follow Sean and check out all his stuff. But other than that, have a good week. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. Stop recording.